Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What is your paranormal or unexplained experience? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. High school. Grades 11 and 12 had multiple paranormal experiences at the same location, as well as multiple friends. I lived in a satellite community outside of a major Canadian city center. Around the community were a bunch of old farms. Hell, my family owned one of them. So there's this big old red brick house that looked like it was 80 to 90 years old back in the 90s. Everyone said it was haunted. It was almost a rite of passage in my town to go inside at some point in your time in high school. First time. It's a Friday night, and as teens we're hanging out in a group at either Humpty's or some other chain doing what teens do. Drinking coffee and hanging out. Just basically being out of our parents' house. Someone mentions that we should go check out the haunted house. So everyone piled into the vehicles we had at the restaurant. 6 to 9 teens in multiple vehicles, and we drove 10 to 15 minutes to where this haunted house is. I remember being very skeptical at the time. So this house is behind a row of tall trees, pretty much blocking the view from the road. It's 10 p.m. in spring, so the sun is mostly down, but there's still a faint glow on the horizon. We all pull into the yard of the old farmhouse, and we get out. Guys are acting all tough with the girls. People are joking around, and suddenly one of the girls say, "Did someone go inside?" I thought I saw someone in the window upstairs. We look around, and no, everyone is accounted for. Within a minute, while we're all quiet and looking around, we all look up at the house, and everyone sees the shape in the window, and it's looking at us, or we think it's looking at us. This place had been abandoned for 30 years at this point in time. So the girls freak out, and all of us guys kinda get a little jumpy. But us guys decide to F it. We're going in. We said we were going to check this place out. No wimping out. 4 of us walk up to where the front door should have been. We step inside, and I swear the temperature dropped 10 degrees. We walk into this house up the stairs that were rotting. We were all slightly freaked out because we had seen someone or something. We were possibly expecting a hobo or maybe some random inmate from the jail, who knows. But we were confident that it was something bad happened. We were 4 strapping young teens who could F anyone up if we got attacked. We walked around the upper level of this house, hearing the girls outside chatting and gossiping. I remember that the house felt quite early. So this is back in the 90s when cell phones were around, so now we all have flashlights. We had no source of light that night. We were creeping along using the moonlight through the windows and proceeded to check out every room upstairs. The place was abandoned. We did not find anyone in the building that we could have caused the shape in the window. As we were walking out, we passed by a room, and my buddy swore to death that he saw movement. We stopped and looked inside and found nothing there. I kept walking through the house, and as we started going down the stairs, we got near the bottom, and all I remember is my buddy behind me colliding with me with all of his weight as he was falling. I stumbled into the guy in front of me, and he stumbled into the guy in the lead. My friend who fell into me said he felt like he got pushed and tripped on the stairs trying to catch himself. After that, we said, "F this, let's get out." Leaving the house, we passed by what should have been the kitchen and swore I felt like someone grabbed my arm and tried to pull me into the kitchen. After that, I effing bolted for the door and said, "F this shit." Second time. Again, it was a Friday or Saturday, this time midsummer. Hormones are running wild, and the male teen ego is ready to impress the ladies with our bravery. This time we decided to go back. It was early evening, I would say around 6 to 8 p.m. It was still extremely bright out, so the darkness wouldn't be a factor. So after hanging out again at some restaurant, we annoyed the waitress with our constant drinking of coffee. We needed something to do, so off to the haunted house we went. Again, 3 cars of teens all hopped up on hormones and caffeine and raced out onto the countryside. We rolled up to the house, and it felt instantly like the energy changed as you drove into the clearing. This time we decided that last time was too freaky without light, so we grabbed a few flashlights. Again, a brave group decided to go into the house. This time we saw nothing in the windows, but we here and had a goal. We had heard that this house had a root cellar that was just bare dirt walls, so we wanted to check this out. 5 of us go into the house. 2 flashlights, 3 guys and 2 girls. Again, this house had a heavy cold. We walked in mid-summer at 30 degrees Celsius outside, and it felt like the house was 10 degrees Celsius. It was cold, especially for this time of year. So we split off, and one of the girls and a guy took a flashlight and went upstairs. The rest of us, me, one of my best friends, and the other girl, decided to go check out the root cellar. What an effing horrible idea. Have you ever felt like the light beam of a flashlight just did not travel as far as it should? That was this root cellar. We went down a rotting staircase slowly, and shining the light down there, I swear we couldn't see the bottom of the steps from the top. We get to the bottom of the stairs, and we're all standing there within 4 feet of the stairs. We all felt too scared to move, so we shine this light around the root cellar. I swear that other than the wall that the staircase was up against, the light never made it to the other walls. There were chains hanging from the rafters toward the back as we could see, some old shelves, and as we were panning around the root cellar with the light, the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut. All 3 of us freak out, and we run up these stairs. I remember hearing this wind blowing in the cellar and feeling a breeze. We get to the door, and because we're panicking, we can't find the effing knob. The girl is at the back as me and my best friend are fumbling with this ancient knob, trying to get the door open. She screams as she says something grabbed her leg, and she starts hysterically freaking out. Finally, we figure out how to operate this knob and get to push the door open, but my friend can't get the door to open. I get up beside him, and we both slam ourselves into the door, and it opens. The girl behind us rushes through, completely hysterical, and runs out of the house. My best friend and I follow her out. We get outside, and everyone else in the group is standing in the clearing. My best friend and I start accusing other people of playing a prank and slamming the door on us. Every single one denied it and said they had been outside for the past few minutes, but heard a loud bang and just thought we were messing around inside. That was the last time I ever went into that house. Over the years past, there were other times we would go out there either as a rite of passage for new people in the group or something to do on a Friday night. I never went back inside, although we did see figures in the window some of the other times we went. I moved away from my hometown in the early 20s, so in the early 2000s I heard the house being torn down. So the first time didn't seem that bad. The second time, the basement seemed pretty freaky, so interesting that you never went back inside as a strapping young lad. I don't know. I probably would have went back inside. Maybe with more light. My ex and I were looking for a new place. There was a decent townhouse in Everett, and the manager let us look inside. He said he'd stay in his office and get paperwork ready for us. We checked out the downstairs and kitchen, then went upstairs to see the bedrooms. As we turned a corner to walk up, a gust of freezing cold air swooped downstairs. I turned around and looked at my ex like, what the was that? Then we heard an almost low grumbled growl, and one really deep and stretched out. She immediately flipped a 180 and skirted out the door. Me being skeptical and figuring it was coming from the neighbors or something continued on. It got colder as I went higher. I opened the master bedroom, and that was as far as I got. I can't explain it, but I felt resistance against me. Something was holding me back. Not entirely, but sure as hell enough for me to take notice. I turned around slowly, cropped the room, closed the door, and walked downstairs. We did not decide to live there, due to it being tainted. So when I was a teenager, I was staying with my grandmother in the house I grew up in. It was really late or early. I had been staying up watching TV. Well, right as I was getting up to shut everything down for the night, I heard someone walking upstairs, like in hard-sole shoes on the hard floor. Freaked me right out. Myself and my grandmother were the only ones there, and she was sound asleep. I finally had the courage to go check. I turned on all the lights on my way up, but nothing. All the windows were locked, the attic space was secured, no explanation. I mentioned it to my grandmother a few days later, and she acted like it was nothing new. Really had me freaking out for a while. This is not my personal experience per se. I live in a small council estate in South London where I occupy a one-bedroom flat. I also do work in my local community, mainly on the estate. Some people have said that they have seen a ghost of a man in my apartment. The man is in his 40s, bald head, seems distressed and says I can't get out or I cannot find a way to escape. The guy is wearing a bomber jacket and old clothing, so it could be from the 40s, 50s, or 60s. A close friend who stayed with me claimed that she woke up to see the ghost staring out my bedroom window, and later on the next day, she saw the same ghost or man standing in the children's playground area looking up at the flat. Several other friends also claimed to have seen this ghost of a man whom I called Jack. Fast forward to about a month or so ago when I was writing a local community newsletter for residents of this council estate. For shits and giggles, I decided to write an article on the front page about this ghost under the title, "Have You Seen Jack?" I delivered copies of the newsletter to the flats on the estate, and also left copies for people at the local community center. It turns out that many other people have seen the ghost of Jack. There was a big discussion about Jack at the local community center, and some people were emailing the local authority and council with stories and sightings of Jack the ghost. Which means apparently I live on a small council estate in South London that is haunted by the ghost of a bald-headed man, and this is fairly common knowledge. Make of that what you will. I've never seen this ghost. So I live in a very old log cabin. I have a lot of them, but the most baffling was this. I was upstairs folding laundry, my wife was at work, kids were at school, when I heard commotion downstairs. I went to the hall that looks into the downstairs living room, and all the furniture was shoved to the center of the room. It freaked me out. Also, I took my son's phone from him once and put it on the shelf in the dining room. I was standing in the room telling the wife why I took it when it flew off the shelf and hit me. I was a minimum of 6 feet from the shelf, and it hit me in the shoulder and flew straight at me. My wife and I just looked at each other, stunned. I have also struggled to believe in ghosts or the paranormal, but I have had some weird experiences I can't explain. I used to work in an old pub or hotel in the rural hills of England, and everyone used to joke about a ghost who existed there. I used to laugh it off and cringe when people spoke about it. The cleaning lady was a bit crazy and used to blame things on the ghost, such as a cleaning bottle falling off the shelf in the kitchen and spilling all over the floor. Or she used to say the ghost would tie socks around light fixtures in the B&B rooms. Anyway, one day I was hovering around the bar and lounge area around 9 a.m. It's closed, and everyone had left the hotel as checkout was 8:30. And they were usually walkers who got the shuttle bus up the hill to start the day's walk. So at this time, only the owner and his wife were upstairs where they lived. I turned the vacuum off because I thought I heard someone approaching the back door, expecting one of them. When the vacuum went off, I heard clear as day some women talking, saying something about playing every Tuesday. No one was there, and the owners were still upstairs, and all the doors were locked. I checked down the corridor and found nothing. The second time, me and the crazy cleaner were stood joking about the ghost, and I said I don't believe in ghosts, and our minds play tricks on us. Literally a second after I said that, the vacuum cleaner about 5 feet away turned itself on. I was about 8 or 9. There's a local theme park, and I remember going on a new haunted ride on its opening day. You had to pay actual cash at this theme park. You usually buy ride tickets. I went on, and I had a lot of Jason references. It's like a mine cart. You ride and see bad animatronic experiences that spook you. Well, the first thing I locked onto was a scarecrow, kind of as you'd expect. Big pumpkin head, red fiery eyes, swinging a scythe. Something about it just I couldn't handle. I screamed and cried so much that they shut down the ride so I could get off and my mother could take me home. I was a latchkey kid, so my mom left me home that night and went back to the theme park. My bed was right next to the window that led out to the neighbor's driveway. I saw the scarecrow out there. I quickly went under my blankets and after some time peeked to see him at my window. I don't know if this really happened, but this is how I remember it, and what I do know is that I slept beneath my bed from that day onward for a year straight, under the bed frame, and sometimes would do it on and off again throughout my life until I got way fatter.